Last night's episode of The View turned into an absolute battlefield when Sonny Hostin made one accusation that pushed Denzel Washington past his breaking point. The two-time Oscar winner didn't just respond. He unleashed something that left the entire panel speechless. But what Sonny said to trigger this explosion would haunt The View forever. The taping started with deceptive calm at the ABC studios. Denzel Washington arrived to promote his new film about a wrongfully convicted man fighting for justice. The audience buzzed with excitement to see the legendary actor. But backstage, something was brewing. Sonny Hostin had been preparing notes all morning, checking her tablet repeatedly with an expression that made producers nervous. Therefore, when the cameras rolled, the tension was already building. Whoopi introduced Washington to thunderous applause. "Please welcome the incomparable Denzel Washington," she announced warmly. But before he could even settle into his seat, Sonny struck. "Denzel, you play a lot of righteous characters, but you've been silent on real-world injustices. Why is that?" she asked pointedly. The audience shifted uncomfortably, but Washington remained composed. "Good morning to you too, Sonny. I believe my work speaks for itself," he said calmly. "Does it though?" Sonny pressed immediately. "You have one of the biggest platforms in Hollywood, but you refuse to use it politically. That's a choice." Joy Behar tried to intervene. "Let's talk about the new film first," she suggested. But Sonny wouldn't relent. "No, this is important. Black men are dying in the streets, and Denzel Washington stays quiet. How do you justify that?" she demanded. Therefore, she'd gone straight for the jugular. Washington's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Justify? I don't need to justify anything to you," he said, his voice low. "You do to your community," Sonny shot back. "You owe them your voice." But what happened next shocked everyone. Washington leaned forward, his intensity filling the studio. "Let me tell you something about owing," he said. "I've built schools. I've funded scholarships. I've mentored young black actors for 30 years. What have you done besides talk?" The studio went electric. But Sonny doubled down. "I use my platform to speak truth," she said. "You use your platform to perform," Washington corrected. "There's a difference between talking and doing." "So you admit you don't speak out," Sonny said triumphantly. But Washington's response changed everything. "I don't need to tweet to make change. I don't need to grandstand on television. I work in the real world," he said. "That's a cop-out," Sonny accused. Therefore, she'd pushed the wrong button. Washington stood up, his full presence commanding the stage. "Cop-out. You sit here every day judging people from your desk. When's the last time you went to an inner-city school? When's the last time you mentored a troubled kid?" he demanded. "This isn't about me," Sonny deflected. "It's exactly about you," Washington said. "You question my blackness because I don't perform it for your approval." The accusation landed hard. But Sonny tried to recover. "I'm questioning your silence, not your blackness," she claimed. "Same thing," Washington shot back. "You've decided that unless I protest the way you want, I'm not black enough." Whoopi tried to calm things. "Everyone, let's take a breath," she said. But Washington was just getting started. "No, Whoopi. I'm tired of this. Tired of people like her deciding who's black enough, who's activist enough, who's worthy enough," he said. "People like me?" Sonny asked, offended. "People who confuse volume with value," Washington replied. "People who think posting on social media is activism." Therefore, the gloves were completely off. Sarah Haynes looked terrified. Alyssa stayed silent. But Joy made a mistake. "Denzel, don't you think visibility matters?" she asked. Washington turned to her. "Visibility? I've been visible for 40 years. I've portrayed black excellence, black struggle, black triumph. That's not visible enough?" he asked. "But you don't speak on current events," Sonny insisted. "Because I don't trust people like you with my words," Washington said bluntly. "You twist everything for ratings." "That's paranoid," Sonny accused. But Washington laughed bitterly. "Is it? You just accused me of betraying my community because I don't tweet. That's not journalism. That's character assassination," he said. The audience was completely riveted. Some nodded in agreement. Others looked shocked at his intensity. But Washington wasn't done. "You want to know why I stay quiet? Because of this. Because every opinion becomes a headline. Every thought becomes controversy," he said. "That's the price of influence," Sonny argued. "No, that's the price of your business model," Washington corrected. "You need conflict to survive." Therefore, he'd exposed the show's real agenda. But Sonny made a fatal error. "At least I stand for something." She said that Washington's explosion was instant. Stand for something? You stand for ratings. You stand for controversy. You stand for whatever gets clicks, he shouted. The studio gasped. Nobody had ever seen Washington lose control like this. But he continued, his voice thundering through the space. I've spent decades building something real. You've spent years tearing people down. Don't you dare lecture me about standing for something, he said. You're proving my point, Sonny said desperately. This anger, why don't you channel it toward real issues? This is a real issue, Washington replied. People like you gatekeeping blackness, deciding who's authentic. It's poison. He turned to the audience. She wants me to perform my blackness for her approval. To dance when she says dance. That's not activism. That's entertainment, he told them. I want you to care, Sonny protested. I do care, Washington said. I just don't care about your approval. Therefore, the destruction was complete. But Washington had one more bomb to drop. You know what's really sad? You have this platform. You could celebrate black excellence. Instead, you attack it when it doesn't conform to your expectations, he said. I hold people accountable, Sonny said weakly. You hold people hostage, Washington corrected. Conform or be condemned. That's your message. He started walking toward the exit. But then he stopped, turned back, and delivered the final blow. I've won Oscars. I've built institutions. I've changed lives. But according to you, none of that matters because I don't tweet enough. That says everything about your values, he said. Don't walk away, Sonny called out. I'm not walking away, Washington said. I'm walking forward. Away from this toxic performance you call activism. This is cowardice, Sonny accused desperately. Washington laughed. Cowardice? I faced racism when you were in diapers. I broke barriers you walked through. Don't talk to me about cowardice, he said. The studio was in complete chaos. But Washington had one final thing to say. You want to know the difference between us, Sonny? I build bridges. You burn them. I lift people up. You tear them down. I change lives. You just talk about it, he said. He left. The studio erupted. Some audience members stood and applauded. Others sat in stunned silence. But everyone knew they'd witnessed something historic. We need to go to commercial, Whoopi said urgently. But the damage was catastrophic. Within minutes, Denzel Washington destroys Sonny was trending worldwide. The clips went viral instantly. But the damage was catastrophic. Within minutes, Denzel Washington destroys Sonny was trending worldwide. The clips went viral instantly. But the real impact came from what happened next. Black community leaders came forward defending Washington. They detailed his unpublicized work in education, mentorship, and philanthropy. The evidence was overwhelming. Everything he'd said was true. But for Sonny, the backlash was devastating. She was accused of performative activism, of gatekeeping blackness, of attacking a black icon for clicks. The black community she claimed to represent largely turned against her. Washington released one statement. I've spent my life working for change. I won't apologize for doing it my way. The statement went viral. Support poured in from across the entertainment industry. Even activists who wished he was more vocal defended his right to contribute differently. ABC held emergency meetings. Sponsors expressed concern. The View's ratings plummeted as viewers boycotted. Internal reviews revealed Sonny had planned the ambush to go viral. She tried apologizing days later. I pushed too hard. I apologized to Denzel Washington, she said on air. But the damage was irreversible. Her credibility within the black community was shattered. Meanwhile, Washington's film opened to massive success. Audiences rallied behind him. His authentic response resonated more than any crafted statement could have. The incident became a watershed moment about activism, authenticity, and who gets to define black excellence. Washington had exposed the performative nature of television activism. But the most powerful outcome came weeks later. Washington announced a new scholarship program for young black filmmakers. He named it Actions Over Words. The message was clear. The View never fully recovered from that episode. The dynamic was forever changed. Trust was broken. What was meant to be dialogue had become destruction. But Denzel Washington had done more than explode on television. He'd exposed a crucial truth. That real change happens off camera. That authenticity can't be demanded. That black excellence comes in many forms. The explosion heard around the world wasn't just anger. It was decades of frustration at being told how to be black by people who profit from the performance. It was a legend refusing to be diminished. It was truth defeating theatrics. And in the end, Washington's explosion proved his point perfectly. Actions speak louder than words, even when those words are shouted on national television. Especially then.